Do it thou knowest shall be whole of the law. Will be much more glad.
Our whole reason to be here, our whole reason for our sole existence, is to achieve the wisdom of the master architect. Call him what you will. God, the divine source, who knows? It's not really important. And for those of us that feel deeply on the inside and know in any way, manner, shape, or form that this sort of thing exists, we know that we need to become more well-rounded, more whole, to achieve that total wisdom. There is no way that the vastness of that could be held in a box or a list of rules. That is something that is vast as space. I would never, ever listen to somebody that thinks they have it all, or they wouldn't be here. They would need to profess their ignorance, not their arrogance. In saying that, let me quote to you one of my most favorite sayings, and that would happen to come from a raw food guru, a guy named Dr. David Jubb. And I love this because people tend to get real caught up in the moment, real caught up in their life as they know it. And so if you could see your life this away, imagine yourself running a marathon, 26 miles. And at the end of that marathon, you would take 2 steps backwards. That would be your life right now. The whole 26-mile race would be your sole existence.
So that being said, one thing should possibly be observed. We come into this world and we leave this world by ourselves. And in the case of the beginning, there may be a few percentages of us that come into this world with somebody if you're a twin. Other than that, and there comes a point where when we're in this life, you need to make this choice right here. This is the Hermit from the tarot deck. And always kind of interesting when I plan something in my mind about what I want to do, about this sort of magic that comes up, these things that stimulate me. And I'm wearing the Led Zeppelin shirt with the famous hermit symbol. I really didn't realize this connection, of course, but I didn't make the connection. It wasn't until much later that I learned the infatuation that Jimmy Page, the leader of Led Zeppelin, had with the work of the great mystics, including Aleister Crowley. And the image that you see in this is the image of the Hermit tarot card, as was sort of based on the crowd of people that Aleister Crowley sort of came around. The tarot is based on the Tree of Life. And this image is based on the sort of Rider-Waite deck, which would be, I think Rider and Waite were both 2 people of the Golden Dawn, I believe it is. I really don't always have my facts straight. So, the Hermit is the one that needs to know that the true development comes from the self. And so, it would be a great and lovely thing, and there's nothing wrong with it, to socialize and dance and love with all your fellow human beings and feel good, and if that's what you're supposed to do in this life, you will certainly know it, because that will make you feel good. And if you know it's time in your life to be this guy right here, you will know it, and that will make you feel good, because that is the time where you do a lot of work, where you get inside yourself and you fall in love with yourself, and you find the mysteries and the truths that are yours and yours alone. And now on this journey, when there comes a time, maybe after you've lived 1,000 lives, maybe after you've lived 2 lives, maybe after just your first life, you come to this awareness, and you may need some help from somebody who is further along than you, or somebody who has a skill more than you. They may not be more evolved than you in terms of, well, they may not have more soul lifetime existences than you, but they may have learned more quicker than you. Oh, and this can come in all ways, be it in all 4 aspects of life, as I've mentioned: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Now, ultimately, the spiritual is the whole deal. But on the opposite end, we get too caught up in that, we're too spaced out, because we are in the physical. But where we're going to wind up is in the spiritual. And we don't want to ignore the other 2 either, because they are also something that doesn't have to do with the physical, which is a part of what makes us who we are in these bodies. Now, that being said, what I'm talking about are psychics. And a great, great evolution can come from your interface with these people. And if it's your thing, in this time, in this life, you will be very attracted to that. Or maybe you've lived for 40 so years and you become attracted. On the other hand, maybe it's not your time and you will not be interested in this at all. You will see something else. And we have no right to express what is our truth in a dictatorial way, which would not recognize that, because every single person is on this long soul trip. So now, that being said, what I'm here for today is to talk about psychics. So let's loosen up a little bit. And let's talk about the subject of the day, psychics. So, I've had a lot of wonderful experiences with psychics. As we develop ourselves, same as in the physical, we all have muscles, we all have whatever, and if we choose to go to the gym, we will develop ourselves physically. And so we can also go to the spiritual gym and we can develop this stuff. Now, important thing is that almost anybody can do this, but here is a great analogy for something that you need to be careful of. Lots and lots and lots of people can pull in the information, but this is just like the radio style. Those waves are being transmitted all over their range all of the time, and it comes into everybody. But what you have that you are able to decipher that information with is the tuner. That helps you to decipher that information. And so that's where you need to be careful with psychics. You need to have somebody who can actually decipher that information. So, I've had a lot of psychics. Never one that I went to steadily. Few here and there. I kind of got away from it for a little while. And then for a long while, actually, in the 80s, I was very into the whole sort of New Age beginning, as it was. And in the 90s, I chose to get a little more into my music and my creativity and my artisticness. And so where I arrived at last summer, or it was actually a little while ago, 2009 is when I first started to see a psychic again for the first time, which was somebody in LA. So I went to a psychic fair in 2010, and I happened to run into this person who is now my psychic, a neuro-linguistic programmer. NLP, that's called, and you can, I invite you to look that up online, because I can see by my talk right now I'm not going to have enough. But basically, I have always believed that I attract what I want, and so I started this sort of, the wind blew in this, you know, the flow of the universe sort of blow this in. So let's cut to the chase. So a year later, I eventually hooked up with this psychic and kind of went through, got some of the last of my baggage out of the way with relationships and stuff. And so it's time for me to be alone and start working on the next big step, which is the healing of the emotions, the healing of the mental, doing it through the spiritual, which in turn is going to make the physical healthier. The person here on earth being healthier so that they can evolve more. So let me just cut to the chase and say that the psychic that came my way lives here on the mountains. I resonate with her very beautifully. I will tell you that she could easily pull $300 or $400 an hour in Los Angeles, where this kind of thing is big, because she is quite authentic. This is definitely going to be a two-part video. And I want to inspire you all to get a little more involved in things beyond the physical. So, in saying so, let me tell you that I've just done a majorly huge evolution with somewhere in the neighborhood of about, oh gosh, I don't even remember, 15 to 20 sessions. And so the psychic that I found, she's a psychic. She is educated in neuro-linguistic programming, which is considered basically a science. It's used by people that are not psychics. Lucky for me, I happen to meet somebody who can interface the two. She's also a nutritionist, and she's able to interface all of that as well, of just basically looking at people and sort of assessing where they're off nutritionally. So that's great. And she's also, I don't believe she's as much, she likes the raw food world. So what a match for me. And it's just like, I just wanted it, and it eventually came to me when it was ready to come to me. My psychic is a lady named Sandy Steers. She lives in the same community with my parents, which is that way on the mountain, about another half hour deeper into the mountains from me, in a big area called Big Bear Lake, and they live on the north side. What a hookup I had. And so, mypersonalmagic.com, it's a nice website, and she gave me permission to tell you her phone number and everything right here, and I will, because I want to encourage you all to meet up with her. She charges $80 an hour, and as I said, easily $300 or $400 in LA, where people much more respect this kind of thing. And of course, she resonates more with me because she's kind of lives in the mountains. She's a bit of a forest person like me, and has this guy going on a little more, which happens to resonate with me. And just so you know ahead of time, she is more than capable of doing all of this stuff via Skype, via telephone, direct in person. And I do encourage anybody to come from all over Southern California, because actually being with her in person, and of course that's the way I prefer to experience anybody. When I take consultations with Truth Calkins, I prefer they be in person. I haven't done them over the phone with him, but it's just amazing to be in sort of the cosmic consciousness with another person. Song of the day. So we're gonna do this one. Since it's a two-part video, we're gonna do two songs by the same band back to back. Next video will be same band, different track. This is undeniably my favorite band, which brought a lot of stuff together for me. I'd always been in love with this sort of more experimental new age type of electronic music, Tangerine Dream, Carl Schultz, Ashra Temple, Steve Roach, what have you. And so in the early 90s, they actually started a little bit into the 80s. The O.O.B.E is the name of the band. Brought a lot of stuff together and made me realize that I could do what I wanted to do with music, because that's exactly what they do. Definitely my favorite band. If you take a look at this big star tattoo right here, that is a symbol of the O.O.B.E. Song of the day is a song called O.O.B.E. And that's the first track up on their album called U.F.Orb. by far my favorite #1 album of all time. If I could only take one single album with me to a desert island, it would be this one, U.F.Orb. And the track O.O.B.E stands for Out of Body Experience. What a track. And so the next video that I do, I'll probably upload a little later in the day. I'm going to get my teas and rebounding stuff. But enjoy. This is by far, this changed my life. This made me who I am. Probably at the time when I discovered this band, I was sort of considering abandoning music because I felt like I was not capable of making something which was just so stupid. Something that people would enjoy, which is bullshit. I was kind of like lost, but this band helped me to see the whole deal. I'm never the same again after I saw this band. I love you. I will see you later. And here's the tarot card that we're going to do. That's the Voyager version of Voyager tarot deck of the Hermit. A little different from the interpretation of this guy over here. Love you. Bye.